welcome back to another episode of Fab Talk. It's your boy Rico. You already know we got a new one for you guys. It's a little bit different than what we usually do, but I just want to go ahead and introduce you guys to Blake. Very well-spoken, educated, low-key, really cool dude. Put me onto a lot of things, and I just feel like he has a lot to talk about because he does. So, Blake, just go ahead and introduce yourself, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on. So, I got an idea of, why people are interested in your podcast. People come on here, they talk about what they're up to, how they're living their life, and, just probably dropping bits and pieces here and there about how they're doing what they're doing, and then their thought process. So I think the most common thing people probably want to know is, like, who the heck is this guy, and why should I even listen to the rest of this podcast, the rest of this thing? Will it be mentally stimulating? I can assure you it will be, but, it just, from my background, getting into this space that I'm in right now, I'm in Puerto Rico. I did not grow up here.
Yeah.
Okay. My dad actually came from the island of Guam, which is like the other Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
Right?
How so?
In that the U.S.
Similarities?
A lot of similarities. Island culture, owned by the U.S., colonized, all that, stuff. And my dad came over here to Oklahoma, which is, if you don't know where that is, it's like the middle of nowhere. It's
where you see further and see less.
Yeah, exactly, right? Cowboy hats, Indians, tornadoes. So was there for most of my life. My dad had me when he was 14 years old. Dude's a stud. And my dad met my mom, when she was 15. They had me. And then growing up in a small town, literally 5,000 people living in this town.
Damn.
So not big city living.
Really small.
And there's only two things to do in a small town like that. Either do drugs in big amounts or have kids.
That's a fact.
Luckily, they did both, and so that's why I'm here. So I'm just kidding. I don't know about the first part. Maybe my dad, but it's been an interesting ride. Going from small town to Hollywood and then to here. And not Hollywood because I was like working there. I just wanted to live there for a bit because I thought that was where you're supposed to meet all the super famous people and work.
Your dreams will come true, essentially.
Yeah. And
you got to work for that shit for sure.
You do, and you don't got to go to Hollywood.
That's true.
That's like a huge misconception. Like, you got to go somewhere in order to create. I think it doesn't matter where you are on the planet now. With the internet, you can create empires from a small home in Nebraska or in the middle of an island. I think a lot of people, they never get outside of their small town or outside of their place, and it gets them a little bit delusional about what's possible. And so traveling is like one of the biggest things that's opened up my perspective. And that's why I like going to places like Puerto Rico, because there's so many different cultures that have kind of combined into one. There's other people that have moved out here for various reasons, and then you just get that brain trust of knowledge that you get to go back and forth with people on.
Yeah.
Which is, part of the reason why I wanted to hop on this, because, you're running this brand, and I kind of wanted to know a little bit more about your origin story, how you got this thing started too, and then obviously share some things about myself.
I appreciate
as well.
you giving me your time in the day to share your story and give us a little bit more insight on a lot of other things that we may be overlooking. Because I've noticed that you have a very different take on life, a very different take on the marketing, like real life things that could really benefit or bring you down. Because a lot of people have hidden talents, hidden ambitions, and you really have given me the perspective, and I've seen the insight that you're very persistent in what you do. You believe in what you do. And you do everything to the tip of the T, and I appreciate you giving me the time, man. Because I've learned a lot from you. I've realized that you've really met a lot of people. You're a high valued individual, knowledge speaking very much so. Yeah, man, appreciate it for real. Here, random question. We were talking about how Hollywood is not necessarily the place of dreams, the place that you're going to be able to network. What's the place that really had the most impact on your career now? And what's the place that you thought you were going to have all of those insights over there that really turned out to be not so much?
Right. So
like a waste of your time, if you like.
Waste of my time was definitely, I'd say Los Angeles and then Las Vegas, were the places that I thought that by being there, I would be able to connect with all kinds of people, but I realized the kinds of people you want to connect with, chances are they're traveling a lot, one. And then two, you will meet a lot of these people by going to events, like actually physically showing up to these events, or by just traveling and then building, because what I learned is you never know who somebody else might know. And one of the coolest places I've been to, Dubai, right, in the United Arab Emirates, I met so many cool people there, not because I was trying to directly connect with them, it's just by second degree association from the initial, friends and business associates that I had. One of which invited me out there. I stayed at his place for a good month. I learned a great deal about like business acquisitions, buying, selling companies, building a brand, and through that guy met a whole plethora of influencers that have taken over like the YouTube investing space, and also just the world in general. I mean, one person specifically, Andrew Tate, and his crew.
Was that like a impactful moment for you, like being in a, like how did, like, was that impactful moment for you in that moment, and was it a little bit intimidating and overwhelming being in a room with all of those super powerful people? Yeah, so the first time it happened to me, when I got like intimidated by being around people of higher status, because it's pretty normal when you're first getting started. Yeah. Like when you recognize somebody, when you've watched somebody from afar for so long and you've gotten a lot of value from them, and then you go see them in person, it's like, whoa, it's this Hollywood effect. Yeah. Over time, that kind of leans off, but I think the more you idolize somebody as like a hero or somebody that you want to be more of, when you get around them, you're like, oh shoot, this is like a god, and we deify that person. Yeah. So the first instance for me was whenever I went out to Beverly Hills and I met with Ty Lopez at his mansion. This was a fluke how I met this guy. It was his email marketer, the guy who manages all of his emails, needed help with a specific service that I just spent 3 months learning. So I did not spend years, I didn't go to college for this. I just saw a demand in the market. And that's the thing about social media. There's always new trends. And so if you just like learn these little things on time, the timing is key. Exactly. That's the key, is timing. And then you meet people like Ty. You'll be left in the dust. Yeah. And then you'll be left, right. Because I mean, look at Tate. I met him, him and his team and all that. I didn't get to personally connect with him, right? We were just like in a small group still, and only for about an hour and a half. But that was back in February, before his brand really blew up, February 2022. So just being in that same space, to answer your question, yeah, it was a bit intimidating, because like I was picking up on some good insight on how to network with people, how to build a social circle, how to build, businesses, and just how to have more conviction whenever you sell yourself, whenever you sell or train teams. So being around him, I'm like, okay, what do I talk about with him? What subjects do I talk about with him? He's probably here just to hang out. He doesn't want to talk about business and all that. So it ended up just, I ended up talking more so to the other people around him that were in his group. I actually had some cool friendships made from other guys that were, because Tate's like in his mid-20s or mid-30s right now, but there was a lot of guys in their early 20s that were at this event, and I connected with them well. They had just got success early, like in the last 2-3 years, and so it was cool dissecting and talking about subjects that they were really obsessed with, the latest and greatest of the like social media marketing or just performance enhancement. It's like mindset things, breath work, meditation. All the while we're over there smoking hookah and like getting drinks coming through. We're talking about breath work and meditation, because there's a balance to it. Like and you meet some interesting people though, going out to locations like that. And I don't think over time you lose that intimidation factor. And also substances too can make you a little bit out of your highest state of being. It's like the only reason why you'd be scared is because you thought you weren't worthy. So at any point in time where you like are afraid to talk to a guy or a girl or somebody of higher status, or ask for that raise at your job, or ask for the sale, a part of you doesn't feel worthy enough. And so that's what I
been doing a lot lately in the last 2 years is just working on that feeling of worthiness.
Yeah.
Because if you're worthy to receive, chances are you'll get it. And the process is just like tuning into that and just building a routine every single day that reinforces your worthiness, which is kind of like a deeper concept.
Yeah, I like that perspective and the way you were like explaining it, because that shit's really true. And what's probably one of the most interesting conversations you were into over there? Like you were just like, dang, I didn't expect them to be bringing this up at this time. Or anything that you could talk about? Like,
yeah, I would say it's the vice grip that influencers have over investing, and when I say investing, I mean the markets. So just for clarity, for anybody that's not familiar with how stocks and crypto, I mean, when people get a news article that Elon Musk just did something, right? Maybe bought Dogecoin went up and it made people millionaires. Mm-hmm. He's an influencer. That happened. I've worked with influencers who have YouTube channels, and they would talk about a specific company and that stock price would go up. And so these guys are all just like, they're in this inner circle, and they talk to each other like, hey, we're all gonna like pump this thing. We're all gonna talk about it really at the same time. And it's just, so that's where you get those home run investor opportunities, is by just knowing these people and then being at the ground floor before it pops off.
Yeah, so that's what you were talking about. Well, we were kind of talking about how you really didn't get into crypto, because if you're going to invest in a cryptocurrency, you want to know the creator of the crypto and invest in the moment that they drop it.
Yeah, and then get out.
And then get out, yeah.
Because, I mean, you could have all the confidence and even know the people that are promoting it, and it's still tank. That's happened before. There was something that happened back in it's actually the month that I moved to Puerto Rico, whenever Robinhood shut down its trading for GameStop.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, it shut down trading for that. And I was levered up. I had like 300 grand in a position, and it got decimated after I wasn't able to trade it. And I was in the middle of traveling, and I was out here. I'm like, crap. I came to Puerto Rico, and this is...
Did that have like a mental toll on you in that time?
Well, see, I had this confidence because I had some good success in business, but that confidence was not healthy from an investing standpoint. And it did take a mental toll on me temporarily, but what it more so did is just showed me that anybody who's trying to do this short-term trading thing, you really need to be on it, and that needs to be your only thing for the time being that you're doing. If you're in a trade, if it's a short-term trade, you need to be in it and avoid doing everything else in your life. No partying, no doing all that, if you're in the middle of a trade.
Is that why there's a lot of those memes of like crypto investors and all the traders that they have like 4 or 5 computer monitors and they're all watching that shit 24 hours a day? Yeah.
Yep.
That seems very, 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 very stressful.
It is. I mean, but like all things, it's pattern recognition.
Yeah.
So you can identify trends and you kind of know what to see.
That's true.
So over time, they just get used to it. Personally, I know myself. I've taken a lot of personality tests, worked with a lot of coaches, and that's not my strong suit, is doing this day trading and investing. They're just saying, everybody here should look it up. It's a thing called a Strengthsfinder. And I took it when I was in college, and there's like 36 strengths that you would test for. It's a pretty long test, like 30, 45 minutes. But at the end, it shows you your top 5 strengths out of these 36. And all of, like the top 4 strengths that I have are all in influencing. It has nothing to do with traits that would be useful for a day trader. So knowing that, it's not like you're necessarily being put in a box, by the way, and like you can never stray out of side of this box. It's just, this is what your tendencies are. This is what you have biases toward. And I found it to be a pretty useful tool, that and other personality assessments for dating, for getting new employees or contractors, understanding if they're going to take on a specific role, especially if they've never done it before, hiring sales reps, understanding if they have the traits inherently to do the job and do it very well. Of course, everybody can train up skill where they lack in maybe natural ability, but it just helps to know that if you bring somebody on and you're risking, paying them maybe an upfront fee to do something, that they have the skill set, like, naturally to do it for you. Of course, there's things like values. You got to make sure that they're a good person and that they're not, overstimulated all the time with drugs and it's impairing their ability to work. Yeah. But, like, it's been one of the most useful tools, man. Just like taking those personality assessments.
And whenever you have those times that you feel like your mental side is like out of place, or you feel like you're just not like centered, like, what's something that you do to help you bring back the Blake that, like, One Punch Man?
One Punch Man, yes. So this is a quick exercise I learned from there's another podcaster, Andrew Huberman. He talks a lot about health subjects, optimizations that you can make in your body, get better sleep, get better focus, have better life. And then I heard one of the tips that he had, it's related to your breath, and it's where a simple, and you guys can do this at home too. If you're experiencing anxiety about something and you just want to center yourself back in and be more still in your mind and your emotions, you can just simply take a deep breath and then take a sharp inhale at the very top of that breath and then just hold it. And then when you hold it and slowly exhale for 10 seconds, then it calms your nervous system down into a place where you're no longer in fight or flight. Because the reason why you're stressed in the first place is because you have these hormones, and you may have been, drinking coffee or taking too much nicotine, or maybe you're on some other substances, and you just like are too wiry, so you have to settle yourself down. Or maybe you just got bad news, like an outside environment, something on the outside, data input came into your awareness. Maybe it was a tragedy, or maybe it was just somebody cutting you off.
Yeah.
And so you have to stop it right then and there, and then do a breath exercise like that. I actually keep this thing on me. It's called a kamuso. So it's based off like these Japanese monks that you would use this flute during meditation. And so you would slowly blow through this metal tube, and it just helps you be more aware of the act of exhaling through this tube. And by exhaling for 10 seconds, it does exactly that. And you may even start to yawn whenever you do this. Like, if you're yawning, that doesn't necessarily mean you're tired. It actually means that your body is energetically resetting itself. So that has been one of the biggest breakthroughs for me in overcoming, anxiety and a snap and just getting it out. And obviously you forget about these techniques whenever you're in the mode of anxiety, and you could still go about whatever rage, or still go about whatever, program that you learned or you picked up from your abusive stepfather.
Yeah, but you can, like you said, you can always program it into your system, your daily life.
Yep.
And that's honestly probably the best way to. There's like, obviously, like, not everybody's the same and not everything will work for everybody. But I've watched some of your videos and your breathing exercises, and I've done them because I have anxiety. I have a lot of stuff that I do all by myself, and it becomes overwhelming at times. But I have found that controlling my breathing and being aware of how I breathe really does affect and benefit me in my daily life. So I do appreciate you for sharing that with me too. But not to veer off topic now, but I just want to know, like, what made you, like when you were growing up, your biggest influences, like, what got you to the position that you are now, like, what made you?
Great question. Yeah. So I had when my mom started working a lot, she picked up a job, be a bail bondsman, which, if you're not familiar with the bail bondsman is, I mean, some people are, because you had to use them, right? But she's been a bail bondsman for over a decade, and so she got surrounded by a lot of people who were always on the other end of the law, and I got to see a lot of that. I got to see what to not do as a man in society. And, her having that career while also having a man in the house who's father of my three of my siblings, he wasn't the best example of a man, of how to handle emotions, of how to build a relationship. There would be constant fights, more than I could count, just bludgeoning of, TVs, walls, holes in walls, that sort of environment, man. And just verbal abuse. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to having somebody in their life that was like that they couldn't necessarily get rid of because they were in the family, but you just kind of had to deal with it.
Yep.
And so learning about how failure was created, or how poor communication, like the results that yielded, just drove me like mad to figure out how we could solve for that, so that doesn't repeat in my life, and that doesn't repeat in like everybody else's lives. I'm the oldest of 10 siblings right now, and the second oldest is 18 years old, the youngest is 1. So there's a lot of kids that are going to be coming of age, they're going to be becoming adults, and I know that I'm going to be a part of their life. So wouldn't it make sense for me to just go out and find the best information, try to master this for myself, so that way I could possibly create experiences for them to learn as well? Like it dawned on me, especially because when I was 16, I had this guy, I used to smoke weed a lot, but in Oklahoma it's illegal, so you had to get it from a guy.
Yeah.
And you had to like run around, and it wasn't as accessible. So I was trying to buy $200 worth of it. This is the most I ever bought, and I got a guy who had given me some before, but apparently he was in a bad place mentally, because whenever I went to go meet him one day, I drove up and it was at this location, and in the middle, nobody else was around, and he was looking all sketchy. He was like, hey man, yeah, how you doing? And I actually had a gift for him. I had a lighter.
All the time.
It was fucked, man. I had a lighter for him, and it had his last name on it because I saw it at Walmart. I'm like, hey, it's your birthday, I'll give it to you. And the dude, I handed it to him. He's like, oh, thanks, man. He's like, you got the money? I'm like, yeah, you got the weed. And so he opened up his bag. Next thing I know, my face is full of pepper spray. I'm like, what the fuck? And so he pepper sprayed me. And then he starts wailing on my face, like punching me. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? I'm just in shock.
Yeah.
More shock than pain. Like, what the fuck is going on? Because this does not happen in Oklahoma, by the way. It may happen in the big city. Some of you may be listening to me right now. Yeah, that happens all the time. But like, dude, this does not happen where I'm at. So I'm not prepared for it. And then he starts wailing on me, and he pulls out a gun. He's like, give me the money. And so I tell him, dude, why are you doing this? We're friends. And so I'm on my knees, just feeling sorry for myself. And he says to me, I'm not your friend. Give me the fucking money. So I'm like, okay, here you go. Admitting defeat. And he takes it. He's like, where are your keys? Because I drove there. I'm like, I don't know, they were in the car. I can still remember my tone of voice, how I felt, my whole body language, just like etched in my memory. And he didn't get the keys, but then he drove off. He just left it there. And I sat there first thing, I was frustrated. I was so fucking angry that this would happen. Like, why would he do this? Why would he betray me? But then the second thing that I realized, especially after reflecting a bit, was, I didn't want to be the victim. I didn't want to be the guy that was desperate enough to want to rob somebody over $200.
Yeah.
I wanted to be the guy that was totally out of that situation, especially after that happened. My mom, obviously I had stuff on my face. She's like, what happened and all that? And I told her, just like, oh my God. and she just, I just sat there at night. One, having a little bit of PTSD. It's like, he's going to come back to finish the job?
Yeah.
Because that's what happens when shit like that happens for the first time.
He's going to be like, oh, is he going to tell on me?
Right. And then the second is, damn, what am I going to do if I was dead, and then my mom and the 3 kids whose dad was in jail, like, what the fuck are they going to do? They're not going to be in a, superior position to excel in life. So what the hell? And so just a deep reflection, and I started changing everything. I changed the color of my room. I changed my outfits, just threw away my wardrobe, stopped listening to the music I was on. I pushed out all my friends, and then I picked up some personal development books, like The Secret, Think and Grow Rich, because it was sitting on my mom's shelf. I just never touched it. Yeah. And I just binge read that. And I started binge watching YouTubers on health, just personal wellness, and just like binging that. I do not want to end up like these degenerates that are hanging out in my cracked out town.
Yeah.
So
you're trying to excel and be something great, be something for your family to be proud of, be in the position to be able to help your loved ones if something ever happens, help them grow mentally, physically, everything. It's like not anything, not there's nothing in this world that's just gonna be given to you. You always gotta take what happened to you, and it's up to you whether or not you take it into something that you're gonna grow from it, or it's gonna break you down, or you're just gonna be in the same position, or 2 steps back, take 3 steps forward. You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's very interesting. I didn't know you were from that, like a small town growing up like that.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't give you a lot of perspective living in a small town
Yeah.
because you don't have as many life experiences coming at you.
That's very true.
People grow up in big city, they grow up fast if they're, in a certain part of it. But I got this reminder, it's this bracelet, and it has a skull on it, which there's a saying, memento mori, which means remember you will die.
Yeah, I have that tattooed on my body. Yes, sir.
There you go. There you go.
Yep.
Remember you will die. So just reassessing your life as if today was your last. Do you feel good about doing what you're doing? Are you really embodying the best version of yourself? And are you getting better every day? So with that in mind, it's just fast forwarding, going to college and then just realizing that was not the good route.
What were you studying?
I think it was entrepreneurship. And then my entrepreneurship professor actually told me, Blake, you should probably drop out because the social media marketing stuff started popping off. I'm like, hey, should I stay here or should I stay or should I go?
Yeah.
You should go.
Take the leap of faith and just do me.
Yep. Yep. And he was one of the only professors, which if you're in college right now, you need to seek out these professors that actually have experience, real world experience. This dude's a multimillionaire. He was a patent attorney. And so what that means is he wrote a lot of the patents for the technologies that are used. The technology you're using right now to send a video over to your buddy or your girl, like that video the patent for the protocol that allows that media to send, this dude who's just hanging out at this university, he wrote the patent on that.
That's crazy.
And where you make the money is whenever you litigate, whenever you sue the companies that are using that unlawfully. And then you sue them for that and you get money in exchange on a settlement. So really cool actually learning from, somebody who's been in the trenches of corporate 1980s, 1990s America. And it gave me a lot of good insights. And, a note on that, mentor is like, that's one of the biggest things that's been able to propel it. Just realizing that I'm a dumbass and I need to grab onto people who are a lot smarter than me and try to be the smartest, try to be the dumbest person in the room.
In the room, so you retain all that information for sure. I've had my fair share of that, and that's a fact. Be surrounded by people that make you better. I feel like you learn something from it, not by people that you're just there and you didn't learn anything, or you're just there, like wasting time essentially. Because over the last few years, I've really realized that like my time is my time, and the way I spend it is I really got to make sure it's something it's worth it. Yeah, it's okay to like take your time and have fun and like let loose and stuff, but if you overlook all of the other stuff, you're gonna get lost. And I've really over the last like year or two, I've really been able to like center myself.
Yeah, so I bought this domain for. When I say domain, there's this Web3 domain. It's like a .x or .wallet or .crypto, not .com. So you can do something different with this domain compared to just like our standard domain that you can for a website. So when I first saw it, I'm like, who is somebody really important that I could buy this domain, have their last name, and just because they're probably gonna not do it. And so I did, and it's for this guy Dan Fleischman. So if you watch this right now, Dan, I have a couple of your domains. I'll give them to you the second I see you. But it's just something I have in the back of my pocket, just an interesting connecting topic like that.
Yeah, like the starting conversation essentially, like bringing worth to the conversation to a high-powered individual or high-status individual essentially, right? Right.
And or I'll tell you, there's this guy I met. His name's Alex Hermosi, and he has been a major catalyst for a lot of my great business ideas, ventures, and from the information that he's put out. He's always giving away a lot of value. And so this podcast that I've been following for him for a bit, I got in a mastermind in Las Vegas that these digital marketers are putting on. It's called War Room, not Tate's War Room. It's another War Room mastermind. And Alex Hermosi was there, and I approached him and I said, hey man, like your stuff really helped me out a lot. And we got to $1 million a month in our e-learning business because of the sales strategies that you had in your podcast and your free stuff. He's like, wow, man, that's great. Really appreciate it. And we should get on a call sometime. And so we ended up getting on a call. And again, this dude has sold a $60 million coaching company, and he's worth quite a bit for being in his 30s. So over you're like, awesome. A guy that's in the game, because you can meet super rich people who aren't in the game, who are just like in this investor retired mode. Yeah. You'll get some advice, but to get advice from people who are like in the trenches, actively doing business deals, actively looking for new opportunities, those are guys that are really on the ball, that can give you high quality data. Now, like, I wouldn't pass up a meeting. I would definitely love to get a meeting with like Warren Buffett, right? But I mean, there's probably a couple other entrepreneurs that I would enjoy. If it was a 10-minute meeting with Warren Buffett or a 2-hour conversation with like the founder of Reddit, Alexis Ohanian, or somebody else, which by the way, I mean, he is available. Like there's a site called Intro. I booked 2 calls today with these founders of these cool companies, and Alexis is one of the people who was on there, and you can book a time with them. It's like $700 for 15 minutes. But you talk to him, and it's like, that's your opportunity to pitch him too. Yeah. I talked about this in one of the reels I did. Tank. Yeah. Literally. Yeah, and you could talk to these people. You know, there's another website called clarity.fm where you can book a time with people who are they spent decades in certain fields of expertise. A lot of them are very successful, and they just want to get back. And so you can book a time, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, pay like $100, $150, and they're wanting to help you. And so after that initial call, they'll probably give you, I mean, every single person is giving me their email or their LinkedIn, and connect further from there. And then maybe even get some deals referred over as well. So like that's another way that you can connect with multimillionaires, even if you can't physically go to where they're at. You can literally just reach out to them online or pay for their time on marketplaces where that's available. So that is one of the most valuable nuggets I feel somebody could get from listening to this podcast. And I would love for them to take action on and see what they can get.
We'll be sure to have that in the description, all of the links to all of his social medias, his YouTube page, and that website to be able to get in contact with these people for sure. Because there's a lot of people that are watching that might want to be or might have some ambitions that they just haven't yet like pulled the trigger on because they don't know how to go about it. So what's probably like another good advice for somebody who wants to get into marketing, like something that has to do with entrepreneurship? What's some good advice that you give to somebody who's trying to...
Sure, I'll give away the sauce. I'll give away the farm on this one. You can go to YouTube, and there's a lot of people that, you know, they have some good advice. And there's a lot of people that sell courses. I would highly recommend that you save some money and invest in an online course or a coaching program that suits you exactly what you want to do. You got to make sure that you have clarity on what you want to do. If you don't have clarity on what you want to do, you need to hire some kind of like clarity coach or some life coach to get more clarity on that. Another source, if you're just after the information, you want to learn a specific skill like Facebook ads, building websites, maybe launching a Shopify store, maybe it's scaling a brand online. There are, in the same sense that there's the Pirate Bay, LimeWire, remember that? Yeah. So there's sites that are out there that have these courses on there that you can technically download and not have to pay anything for. Yeah. Thousands of dollars worth of programs. Damn. And
you heard it from yours truly. You heard it. That's the sauce.
So don't buy my course because there's literally all these courses out there on the web for free.
Hey, that takes a real person to be saying that.
Invest in coaching though. You need coaching. You need accountability, because you can have all this information, but being held accountable, you will stop yourself from taking the actions that you need to. You'll find a way. Your lower self will come into play and be like, hey, you're not worthy of making that call. Why don't you instead go out and drink? Why don't you sit and masturbate in front of this OnlyFans chick? Why don't you play some video games? Oh, you ran out of energy for today? Oh, the time's gone? You'll just do it tomorrow. Tomorrow, man.
And then tomorrow becomes next week, and next week becomes next month.
Yep. And that's what I think women have an advantage over men in the business space because they have ability to focus a bit better from just basically my experience. A lot of guys, like, we're when we sit down alone by ourselves on our computer, we can get distracted easily by social media, by pornography, by like just going down the YouTube rabbit hole of maybe personal development or other stuff.
Nowadays, TikTok. I fucking hate TikTok.
Yeah.
It should be banned from the United States. All of these.
Haram. Very haram.
Yeah, I fucking hate TikTok. It should be banned.
It's a Chinese psyop.
I know. They're just taking all of our fucking information and going to use it against us. It's about to be like, what's that movie? Where the Chinese parachute in from the United to the United States. The fuck's that movie called?
Yeah, it's
you know yeah. What is it called, man?
Homeland.
Homeland is
that
some
it?
shit. There's a movie.
Red Dawn. Yeah,
Red Dawn. Red Dawn. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Russians. It's not.
Oh, it's Russians. I'm sorry.
The Russians are in cahoots with the Chinese.
Sorry, any Asian watchers. I apologize.
Yeah, I know guys are expert in TikTok algorithms, and that's exactly what the TikTok in China is different than in the U.S.
Yeah,
we talked
100%.
about this. Yeah,
it's because everything is. My boss Willow, he was talking about it. It's like, here in the United States, you post a video of you shaking ass, and you get glorified for it. Over there in China, it's like you build a car by hand, all by yourself, and they're gonna be pushing that through the algorithm. Not people shaking ass, not people dancing, all the other stuff. They're gonna be doing like growth things, like stuff that you actually get information from, like stuff like that. Because everything over there is controlled. Out here, it's like more like we have like 3 guys at home eating like microwave dinners and
and e-girls having e-sex with Twitch streamers.
God. And now they have these new full body haptic vests that you go in VR and they can touch you. Like, what the fuck, bro?
What's going on?
You're gonna be getting touched by a dude right now, man. Holy shit. That's some crazy
Whisper in
shit,
your
man.
ear. Yeah, I'm not about that.
That's, the world we in right now.
It's like you don't need that. You don't need that. And I'm even more concerned, like I said, because I have all these younger siblings, and whenever I see them spend all this time playing video games, I'm like, okay, are you making sure to balance that out with other things to remind you of what reality really is?
Yeah.
And what, like, I guess I'll share this, but one of the ways I've been able to combat this is, and this is why money's so useful, because you can bring your family to experiences, like, because you can't force kids to behave a certain way. Forcing, like, that didn't work for me. You can't work your way into the mind of a child to inspire them through force. They're going to resent you. They're going to hate you. So instead, there's this opportunity to work at a cattle ranch that my little brother, he wanted to go do. So we sent him out there. It cost quite a bit, like 50 grand or something. Was out there for 6 or 7 months, and it was pretty transformative moment for his 14-year-old life. And, there's no rite of passage for men. That's why a lot of men are lost. They're lost in the sea of confusion, jumping from thing to thing, having impotent relationships, unfulfilling relationships with their brothers, with their women. It's not conducive to what they really, really want. And these traditional values that a lot of people that live in Oklahoma, Nebraska, Texas, conservatives, but there's a lot of truth to just living with structure in your life, living with coherence, actually caring about the people around you, showing that to the animals too, like engaging with your environment and working as a team. That's what my brother, and even though he kind of resented some aspects about that trip, he later told me a year later, he's like, hey, I'm really glad I did that, because it gave me perspective that gave me the ability to withstand a lot of the bullshit that people are throwing at me now that I'm in school.
When I was living in Texas, I relate to that, your brother, a lot in that aspect, because I went out to I got sent because I got in a lot of trouble growing up. As a lot of kids do. I grew up on a fucking ranch in Amarillo, Texas, where you see further and see less. So I grew up rounding up cattle, riding horses, doing rodeo, stuff that people wouldn't expect a Puerto Rican island boy, be doing.
Yeah.
So, it's not like nowadays. Like I be talking to my boys because I was there for 6 years of my life, and
Wow.
there's a lot of times that I look back on it and thinking about all the structure, and like really, really wishing that I didn't take those things for granted back then. I really wish I would have been more into all of that stuff, and instead of like being resentful for all of the things that I was fortunate enough to be able to experience, because most people in their life won't even fucking ride a horse nowadays. Most people won't be able to go hunting. Most people won't be able to even fish. I've noticed a lot of that here in Puerto Rico.
Domesticated animal. Domesticated, what do you call it? Poodle. Or like a terrier.
Oh, yeah,
Those little dogs
little
that
Shih Tzu or
if the humans weren't around, those guys would like easily die off.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
I'm not trying to be a terrier. I'm trying to be.
Yeah.
But that's really cool, man. And then that probably explains a lot of why you're at where you're at, and because of resourcefulness, it forces you to be resourceful and outside of the box. And every guy that I've met that has gotten out of their hometown and lived for an extended period of time, they're doing something totally different than their peers.
Yeah.
Because they jumped into the unknown and they unlocked more out of themselves. So that's cool. Any recent other adventures since Texas? Where you went out?
Texas was
Yeah.
crazy. No, I was there most of my life, honestly. I grew up in actually Wichita, Kansas.
Okay.
Tornado
Not far.
Alley. Yeah,
Not
far
far.
from there. Really
Far
not
from the
much
farm.
difference.
Shoot.
For sure. But yeah, like what we were talking about earlier in the show.
Yeah.
Like when you're from a small town, there really is nothing
Mm-hmm.
really to do besides drugs, rob people, do stupid shit, do a bunch of like bullshit shenanigans. And I've lost a lot of friends that way. I've lost a lot of people I grew up with that I have like my like the times that like I was like innocent, I was an innocent young boy, you know what I'm saying? Like a lot of those people who have those memories with I've lost along the way, and it's just crazy to see like the people who've made it out of that and the people that are still in it, and it's night and day. It's fucking crazy. Like it's night and day, man. It's so crazy, bro. But yeah, hey, don't be taking shit for granted, bro, because everything happens for a reason, I feel like, in this life. I don't know. I'm here now. I'm being able to share this moment, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We're here, man. I feel like I'm doing pretty good for myself. But yeah.
1% better every day.
1% better every
That's
day.
what
You
you
gotta take
strive
it.
for, right?
Yes, sir. But closing up the podcast, like, is there something more to be able to share to those people? Just an extra push to get everybody behind the screen right now watching us to go do something out of their comfort zone? You got any advice to take that leap?
Right. So I believe we have a pandemic of disconnection that people have neglected to connect with both themselves and with others, and to get into activities that allow you to do that. So connecting with yourself means removal of all stimuli. So detoxification of stimuli that you're used to being around. Maybe it's the weed, maybe it's like just experiment. Remove that for a time being and connect with yourself and learn about yourself. And then maybe connecting with other people who also want to connect, not who just want to keep you around to support their own trauma and cycle of behavior, but just striving for that connection. Because then you'll find all the modalities, all the breath, all the things that align with you and the things that you actually want to try. It's going to come from this, you pursuing the desire that your heart has to connect. And the more connection you have, then the more you're in this hard place, the better, higher quality decisions that you'll make. So I would just encourage, take time to connect. And I don't think it looks like going out into the club scene and blasting up music and dancing. I don't think that's real connection. Try to go on the beach and talk to strangers, go to a workout class, maybe a yoga spot. Try connection that way. Sometimes you don't even got to talk to people. Just be in the same presence of other people who are also present.
Yep.
Try that.
Just get a little bit out of your comfort zone, little by little.
Yeah.
I really do appreciate you, Blake, for coming out and I feel like we had a really good conversation, and really learned a lot about you. And I really wanted to thank you for stopping by and sharing this stuff with everybody. But you already know, it's your boy Rico Flo. Stay tuned for the next one. We out. Appreciate you, man. This is a great podcast, man. Yes, sir.